They talk about Menzies values. I mean, you hear, because Robert Menzies was the founder of the Liberal Party in a sense, and there is this view that, you know, he had this core set of values. What are the Menzies values?
Well, why don't we start from a bit of a quote? Now, this is a book that you know, was put out by the Liberal Party about 20 years ago.
It's called The Forgotten People, which is interesting.
And it refers. It's a publication which covers a whole lot of speeches Menzies gave on radio. They're radio addresses back in the 40s when he was in opposition. So Labor Party had government, and he gave these speeches. And this is one from 22nd of May 1942, and so it's 81 years ago almost, right?
Wow. Okay.
And I'm just gonna. This is what he says, where he's defining who the Liberal Party should be representing, and he says. He makes some exclusions. He talks about essentially, you know, unions and who are being, you know, unionists are being looked after. He talks about, you know, big business, and he excludes them. And
okay, so corporations,
he says,
the working class being looked after by the
unions. He then says this: I include the intervening range, the kind of people I myself represent in Parliament: salary earners, shopkeepers, skilled artisans, professional men and women, farmers, and so on. These are, in the political and economic sense, the middle class. They are, for the most part, unorganised and unself-conscious. Yeah. They are envied by those whose social benefits are largely obtained by taxing them. Yes. They are not rich enough to have individual power. They are taken for granted by each political party in turn. They're not sufficiently lacking in individualism to be organised for what in these days we'll call pressure politics. And yet, as I have said, they are the backbone of the nation. As it was in 1942, so it is in 2023. That's who the Liberal Party and the LNP should be supporting. Now, if we talk about a fundamental building block of the party, it's not the branch, it's the member. It's the person, Fred Smith or Sally Jones, who goes, I want to join a party. Now, why do they join? Well, there's a few motivations. Sadly, there's a whole lot who've joined in recent decades who just want to climb a greasy pole and be in politics, because that's what they get off on. But there's a whole lot of other people who in the past have joined because they wanted to be close to the politicians so they could influence things. They wanted also to be able to select the politicians, and they also wanted to be able to drive policy. So where are we with the Liberal Party in 2023 or the LNP? We've got people leaving in droves because they can't do those things. In New South Wales, you know, a sort of a clique behind the scenes will actually make the calls on who gets pre-selected, and the idea of plebiscites for pre-selections and selecting members, you know, is just paid. You know, they pay lip service to that. You then involvement in policy. Well, I know about, you know, frankly, some of the arrogance of my ministers when I was in office, who didn't want to listen to the LNP party policy forums. They didn't, you know, even though I try to insist that they actually engage with those forums. I've had plenty of feedback in the years since that my ministers weren't doing that. And then you've got the people who are sick and tired of standing on street corners fighting elections for politicians who then don't want to engage. And finally, in terms of small business, once upon a time small business donated to the Liberal Party. And why would they do that now when I'm in small business? I run a fairly large fund, but it's, you know, it's interesting. We manage a lot of money, but we're a small enterprise. And I can tell you right now, the last 6 years of the Liberal coalition, you know, National Party coalition government gave us more bureaucracy, more red tape, and frankly, they didn't listen to people in the industry, in the sector, in the financial services sector.